Being an adult goes hand in hand with knowing your place. That is to say, knowing how to behave, how to talk, how to navigate the world around you, and guess what? Being a furry isn't too different. We're part of a group that is sometimes misunderstood from the outside, so we also learn how to fit in and express ourselves within it. But here's the real question. Can you survive adulthood and be a furry at the same time? Can you do both without one eating the other alive? Hi everyone, this is Zyly the Fox, and welcome back to a brand new video. Imagine the following scenario. You arrive in the office Tuesday morning, your boss says, "Hey, you, what did you do during the weekend?" And you just, hesitate for a second because you can't really say that you were dancing like a crazy dog at a hotel lobby while people were calling you a good boy. Well, yeah, that's what this video is all about. We don't talk enough about it, but at some point, being a furry starts to overlap with being a grown-up, and it gets kinda weird. Adulthood wants you to have responsibilities, pay taxes, take life seriously. And on the other hand, furry wants you to wear specific items of clothing, accessories, and even have your own slang, both IRL and online. What happens when these two worlds, fandom and real life, starts pulling you in opposite directions? Well, first things first, let's clarify a tough truth that sometimes furries don't really like. Being a furry is, at its core, just a hobby, and hobbies have boundaries. They are meant to enrich your life, but not completely define it. The problem starts when this hobby becomes everything. And I mean it when I say everything. Being a recently joined furry can lead you to immerse directly into a whole new social group. Let me clarify. You join Discord servers, you join subreddits, you join art channels, you follow artists, YouTubers, musicians even, and sooner or later, it's way too late to establish a separating line that clearly sets the border of what's meant to be your hobby and what has turned into your new life. It might sound like something that could be worked on, but it generally doesn't happen. Sometimes only focusing on furry stuff can drive you away from other activities. Say you have a group of friends organizing a day out to the cinema, and you kinda wanna go, but you also want to save for that cool con ticket for next month. That is what I want to call here vindication. In general terms, you want to prove yourself that what you are aiming at will bring you good. But what about losing touch with friends or even missing out? Isn't that also a bit bad? Well, the reality is that the furry fandom can be magical sometimes, but it shouldn't replace your entire identity. There's nothing wrong with loving what you love, but if that's all there is, then you're not really living a life, you're just living a fandom. You should remember that you're still a person outside of the fandom with dreams, responsibilities, friends, and being a furry shouldn't take that away from you. Yeah, save for conventions, but what are you willing to give up on in order just to focus on that? Don't you think there's a balance that should be met there? If you're not careful, it's easy to slip into what I like to call, on a separate note, the furry tunnel. The furry tunnel is that little thing that, well, everything outside the fandom feels a little irrelevant. That tunnel can sometimes feel safe, but that doesn't mean it's healthy. This may sound a little too far-fetched, but Plato had a point. He once described a bunch of people living in a cave, only seeing shadows on the wall. To them, that was the whole world. Until one day, someone leaves the cave, and, well, to their surprise, they realize how much more there actually was. Well, the furry fandom can be like that sometimes. If your only reality is the furry fandom, you're living in a cave of, let's say, fluffy shadows. It's fun in there, yeah, of course, the memes, the con stories, the cute art, but the outside world is bigger and a little bit more complex. When all your Twitter feed is furry, when all your friends are furry, when what you do on holidays is just a furry convention trip, well, let me tell you that regular life can start to feel a little fake. But mind you, it's not fake. It's just different. It's harder for normies, but it just makes sense to you, and that's totally fine. But let me clarify this with an actual personal anecdote. A few weeks ago, I attended my first furry convention, and in order to do that, I traveled to another country. It was a great experience because it was my first time leaving the country actually alone, and it was kinda, breaking the ice. It could have been a good conversation starter in my workplace. My co-workers knew where I was going, and they didn't judge, but when I returned, they didn't even ask how it was. Instead, they asked about another fellow teacher who visited Spain with their family. I was not even asked how the weather was in Brazil even. How would you feel? Let me ask you. Quick answer. If you would feel bad, then let me tell you that you are a little off. My coworkers knew what furries were, and they weren't interested in hearing about my fursuit or the parade or anything. And that's totally fine, because my world should not collide with theirs. It is normal for people to be uninterested in what is unfamiliar to them. And to be honest, I kinda didn't want to talk about it because I would feel as an alien too. I can basically state that their world is different. I can't expect them to talk about booping etiquette or fursuit etiquette during a coffee break. It's not the norm. You need to mind your audience and know your place. Wrong audiences can mean wrong topics, and that is uncomfortable for you and for the people around you. And that is what brings us to the following topic: feeling isolated. Here is where it gets real. If you isolate yourself inside a fandom, it will eventually backfire. Because when you live only in the fandom, you stop building new experiences, and eventually, and unfortunately, the magic wears off. This is the closest explanation I found for phenomena like post-con depression, for example. Going back to real life where your whole niche community vanishes is what actually makes you feel sad, not the fact that you're not at a convention anymore. But hey, this is what you generally ignore. No one finds it relevant to think about it, but it is a sound practice. You don't have to pick between furry and adulthood. You can have both. It just takes balance. Maybe you go to conventions, yeah, that's completely fine, but not all of them. Just have a comfort zone convention, like that you attend no matter what. And then make room for more, normie plans, like a movie night with friends or a little treat for yourself outside. Maybe you can commission art, and at the same time, you budget for your rent. And first thing, well, maybe you suit up on weekends and crush a presentation on Monday, or a lesson in my case. Knowing your place brings that sense of stability and helps you cope with anxiety and the feeling of jadedness. What could happen if this balance is lost? Well, do you like cake? This example is great because I love cake, by the way. It's like eating cake for breakfast, for lunch, and dinner. Even your favorite flavor can start to taste like cardboard at the end of the day. So here's the advice: diversify. Mix your worlds. Keep your furry friends, but also make normie ones. It's incredibly funny to go out with people who have nothing to do with what you do online. Personally speaking, I love hanging out with older teachers or old friends from school. They know what I do, but I meet them in the middle when I go out with them so as, to separate worlds. I am not Zyly when I'm with them, I'm someone else. Plan other activities. Go to conventions, yeah, but at the same time, go to concerts, go bowling, have fun with normie people. For example, I'm going to see Oasis in November, and that money could have been used for a furry convention, for example, but I chose to diversify. But why? Because if I get too much of something, that something becomes meaningless. It's like, printing a lot of money. If you know what inflation is, right? Argentina? That's a little, joke on you. Life isn't just about being one thing. And if you want to stay in the fandom like long term, like years from now, you'll need to protect your joy by not letting it become your prison. And please repeat this with me: not letting it become your prison. So, in order to conclude, I'd like you to ask yourself the following question: what does my life look like outside of the fandom? And I want you to be honest. If the answer is empty, or you struggle to find an explanation to it, well, maybe you need a little growing to do. Yet, the furry fandom gave me some of the happiest memories of my life. It helped me feel seen, accepted, and creative. But life asks us to change sometimes. To evolve, to step outside the cave even if it's a little scary. So how can we survive as adult furries? Well, I would say that by remembering you're more than just your persona. The goal is to grow with it, not to stop it altogether. I have no plans to stop being a furry, and I believe I could go on forever. But in a way, finding this balance will allow me to make room for all the other wonderful things that life has to offer. And trust me, when you strike that balance, the fandom feels even better. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video, and if you did, let me know in the comments what it made you feel, share this perspective with your friends if you want to, and subscribe for more. I will be reading your comments as usual, so I hope to see you back again in the next video, and take good care of yourselves everyone. Meow!